Good evening to all of our listeners and followers if you're here on the North American continent, and very good early morning to you if you are one of Charlotte Haggie's biggest fans, because she is coming to us from the beautiful country of South Africa, and it is a still dark 5 a.m. for you, Charlotte, isn't it?
It is indeed wonderful to
Well,
be able to have this conversation in these different parts of the world.
absolutely. And one of the things that we do here at Parent Tween Connection is bring folks from all over the world together because having teenagers and challenges with life with teenagers, being a mom, a dad, an aunt, an uncle, however you show up in a teenager's life, it's not just an American challenge or just a South African challenge or whatever the case may be. It's a human challenge. It's a human adventure, isn't
It is
it? So,
indeed.
Charlotte, I'm super glad that you're joining us. Again, thank you for joining us so early in the morning. Let's start with a bit of a background. We know that you are a recognized coach, you're a mom yourself, you have had the joys of balancing life and business and kids and all the things. Give us a little bit of your background so that we have a sense of kind of where you're coming from with the wisdom you have to share with us today.
Yeah, thank you. I qualified originally as a personal trainer at one point because I was working. I had started a little charity at that point. I was living in Zimbabwe, and I'd started a little charity, and obviously wasn't earning any money from that. And qualified as a personal trainer, and I'm fascinated by people. And at that point, people's bodies and how do we be healthy and well physically. And I've realized since I had children that our well-being is not doesn't it's not in a vacuum. I don't have my physical well-being, my mental well-being, my social well-being, my emotional well-being don't operate like that in silos. And I started
Mm-hmm.
to notice in my own stress uh, how that impacted all of my well-being.
Mm-hmm.
And I got really fascinated by stress. And then I had children, and I realized I didn't want to be stressed and frenetic and frantic and rushing and striving. I wanted to be present and calm and peaceful. And so I really dug into the impact of stress and then into how do we build our resilience to challenge so that I could be the mum, especially that my little boy needed. I had this little boy who has these huge emotions, and he really
Mm-hmm.
has been my greatest teacher because he has challenged me to get out of a particular way of being and move into another way of being. And so that is how I've ended up moving out of personal training for the body. I now call myself a personal trainer for the mind because I help uh, working mums build the resilience, the mental muscles of resilience that allow them to not get caught up in that chaos and that fluster and actually just to be focused and present and engaged.
I love it. And when you said you became fascinated with stress, I had to chuckle a little bit because the I think the human response is, why do you want to study something that every one of us hates? Why do I want to learn more about stress? I want to learn less about stress and more about no stress. But really, that's kind of where we're
Absolutely.
going with this, right? So
Indeed.
you when you first indicated interest in joining us, you came at it kind of from a perspective of productivity, which is fascinating to me as a business owner. Full disclosure for anyone tuning in and for you, I'm not actually a bio mom. I don't have two-legged critters in my home. I do have friends who have two-legged critters, but my children have four legs and bark.
Mm.
But productivity as an entrepreneur is definitely one of my like fly to the light topics, because I'm like, how can I do more with the time that I have available? And I don't have the extra complexity of littles or teenagers in my life. But you have a concept. You said it's all the magic is in the pause, which, by the way, shout out to the conversation I had with Dr. Priyanka I can never say her last name. Dr. Priyanka, we're going to leave it at that. Earlier today, where she was talking about her version of the pause. It was just coincidence that both of you and your topics fit today, and they were the same acronym, I'm presuming. So if anybody is tuning in, you didn't catch that, definitely go back and catch the conversation we had earlier today. But Charlotte, talk to me about the pause and productivity, because those at first blush do not seem to line up. You're telling me to stop to do more.
Absolutely. And, when we talk about productivity, I think generally people think, oh, here we're going to go another talk about, some tips on how I can be more productive, or how I can create more structure, or how, maybe if I just practice more self-care, then I'll be more productive. My take on productivity is that we are looking at it from the perspective of strategic self-command, so that we can find some relief from all this busyness, all the doing that we do all the time. And so my take on it is that productivity itself is not an external problem. It's an internal problem. We are so desperately trying to fix what's going on outside of ourselves, but it's only when we come into what's happening inside ourselves that we can get to the point of being more productive. So the pause is all about connecting with your prefrontal cortex, because when we are in survival mode, productivity completely collapses the moment that your prefrontal cortex, the executive part of your brain, goes offline. I mean, this is the part of your brain that is responsible for clarity and focus and decision making and setting boundaries. But when we are in a state of survival, in that state of fight or flight or freeze or fawn, then we can't be productive. And that comes for me from performing roles that are not part of our core identity, roles that we've taken on, or false identities that we have taken on. So maybe that's the good girl, or it's the achiever, or it's the people pleaser. And we take on these survival strategies from childhood. If I pleased everybody, if I make sure that everybody is happy, then I'm acceptable. Or if I succeed, I'm praised and I'm seen to be, I'm told I'm amazing. If I don't succeed, I'm told that I need to work harder. If I'm the good girl, I'm praised for smoothing everything over, for being so selfless. And we then, when we are triggered, get into our stress response of, the good girl will fawn when she's triggered, like, oh, somebody's disapproving of me. And we suddenly are like, oh, I've got to fix this all. And so the pause is very much, it's not about managing stress. It's not about managing our time. It's about understanding our stress. And so before we can even move into the pause, I use what I call my identity stress map with my clients to figure out which identity is driving my behavior to the point that I can't focus. I'm distracted. I'm flighting into scrolling through Instagram endlessly. So whose rules, whose noise in my head is driving my behavior? And then we can start to look at the actual acronym of what's going on. So
fascinating. Carry on.
Can I carry on? Yeah. So then we move into the pause. And the first step of that pause is actually to press pause. Now, this is incredibly difficult when we are being driven. So I used to be driven by a number of identities. I had a good girl and I had a very strong achiever. I am only valuable when I am doing and achieving, and slowing down is so hard for us. So it's learning the mental muscle that allows you to say, ooh, I'm going to stop in this moment. Just stopping interrupts the emotional hijack that comes from the stress response. It stops that cascading, all of those hormones that start rushing through you, the physiological, your heart rate increasing.
Yeah.
And so pausing and then asking, what is the truth here? So when we are in a chaotic internal environment physiologically, then we move into a chaotic thinking space. Our mental space is chaotic. So maybe we take on various different cognitive distortions. So maybe it's catastrophic thinking, or it's personalization. Oh, there's something wrong with me, and we can't think clearly when we're in that place. So it's moving into, okay, what is the truth here? What is real here? Because everything that happens around us is neutral until we give meaning to it. So, you know, a child who says, I don't want to eat that for dinner, is neutral until we see it as how disrespectful. Or I've worked so hard at this and now you're rejecting me. So everything is neutral until we give meaning to it. So in the A, it's saying, okay, what's real here and what is just fear, or what is anxiety, or what is panic, and whose voice is it that's causing that response? Is it my good girl, or is it my achiever, or is it my overfunctioner? Whose voice is rushing me into this place of panic and stress response? And then
you
the
know,
U
I
is,
see.
sorry.
If I can interject, you know, I'm thinking with the parents that I've worked with and the families that I've engaged with, and frankly, with the number of experts like you that we've had come in to have conversations like this, I think the next step of that is like, when we're experiencing stress in our own lives, these are questions that we ask about ourselves. But then I feel like the next step then is like the example that Dr. Priyanka had today is like when your kid isn't doing their homework, right? It's not just what is that identity that's coming up right here about me and my stuff, right? But also, what about what's coming up? What's that identity that's coming up relative to what my kids' decisions are at this point, right? And is it the overachiever? I see this a lot because in my other world outside of Parent Tween Connection, I work with college bound students. And here in the States, we have particular exams that students have to take. You know, and certainly grades and those types of things are important for college admissions. And I see this a lot with high achieving moms who happen to have kiddos who don't have that same high achieving mentality. And then it's the high achieving mom's thoughts and ideas, right, relative to what they're experiencing or what their kids are experiencing. And so it's interesting to take that next step of what are we projecting, frankly, onto the kids in our world, whether it's our kids, our nieces, nephews, whatever, right?
Absolutely. And for me, this is intergenerational work. You know, I go to so many talks about how do I build resilience in my children, and we are given all these tools. And part of the reason that I do this work is because of mums who have walked out of those talks and said, well, that's great. I know what I need to do to build their resilience, but I don't know how to do it because I'm not resilient. And so for me, it's when your child is not doing their homework, it's having the capacity to not fall into, what does this mean about them or about me?
Or about me,
what is the reflection on us if they don't do their homework, if they don't get an A, and actually being curious. Curiosity is one of the most beautiful tools we can use. First of all, to dig into I kind of think, I always think about opening up my brain and looking in, but then also looking into them. We talk about finding our A grade identity. So what is my A grade identity, but also recognizing in others their A grade identity. So, you know, a mum who is, I mean, I had a client the other day who said, my daughter wants to give up tennis and she absolutely cannot give up tennis. And I said, why? And she said, because I didn't do it properly and I wasn't successful in it. She has to be. And so we looked at, everything. There was a lot just in that moment. We could unpack so much around how she was, as you say, projecting what she didn't feel that she achieved onto her child. And now driving her child to do all of these activities that she didn't really want to do, but this huge drive for, if my child's successful, it means that I'm successful.
Correct. Or that I'm a good parent or whatever else. So
absolutely.
Okay, I didn't mean to derail it, but that just was a thought that came up that I wanted to reflect to you.
Absolutely.
All right, so pause.
The best part to have these conversations. So pressing pause.
Yeah.
We've paused. We've asked ourselves, what's the truth in this situation? So what is, again, that's that curiosity. And curiosity moves us out of an emotional state of that stress response. Curiosity, when it's a completely different energy in motion. I love the idea of an emotion being energy in motion. The energy and motion of a stress response is a chaotic heart rate, all of these hormones flooding you, all the blood rushing to your extremities, getting ready to fight or flight. Curiosity, on the other hand, has a very different energy that's in motion. And so we can be curious about ourselves. We can be curious about the other person. We're asking the truth in that moment. And then when we've looked at, okay, who is it that's talking to me? We can then unhook. So the you is to unhook from that false identity. So this is the step. And obviously beforehand, it's useful to know who are my false identities. But when you can recognize them. Oh, this is my good girl who's saying, I have to say yes immediately. Or it's my people pleaser who's saying, oh, we mustn't upset anybody. Or it's that achiever who says, I've got to do more. I've got to be more. I've got to try harder. When you can unhook from that identity, then you regain the choice about how you want to approach this situation. I want to be more productive. So how do I need to be more productive? I need to do, multitasking is an absolute myth. That again is this, if I do all of the things at the same time, then I'm going to get it all done, then I'm going to feel so much better. Remember also there's a dopamine rush that comes from ticking things off the list. And that is often also the rule makers saying, oh yes, look at us, we've done so well. Aren't we so good? Yeah. And so that dopamine rush, which then crashes because the to-do list is never finished. And then we're like, oh, I just need to go to the fridge and get something to eat because, again, that's a flight response. That's my absolute go-to flight response is I'm just going to go to the fridge and grab something to eat. But when I unhook from the identity and I say, okay, it's okay. I can do one thing at a time. And I can focus on this thing and I can feel myself getting bored or getting frustrated or getting something, noticing what's happening in me physiologically. I can then choose to stay with this task, to get this task done, and then to move on to the other one, which actually leads quite brilliantly into the S, which is to simplify. So productivity is not about doing more. Productivity is about doing what matters. And the problem is that we are doing so much because our identities are telling us you have to volunteer for everything in order to be a good mum, or you have to, meet all the deadlines or take on everybody else's work in order to be, the reliable one. I have a client who is the reliable one, and she puts her hand up for every single thing. She used to, but she's getting so much better at noticing when she's doing that. So I use the 3-zone focus framework, which in the middle is your essential zone. And in that zone is actually, what are my values? And you hold everything on your to-do list against this framework. Are these activities in my essential zone because they're what I value? Or are they in, if we think about 3 concentric circles, are they in the maintenance zone, which is things that I have to do, but I can perhaps systematize a little bit, or I can delegate them? And one of the joyful bases, if that's a word, of resilience is self-trust and trust in others. So when I trust others, I can put things in my maintenance zone. I can hand them over to my husband or my team member or my children, and good enough or done is better than perfect. But when we're a perfectionist, it's difficult. So we've got to work through that false identity of perfectionist. So we've got our essential zone with the things that are important to us, not to anybody else or everybody else, our maintenance zone, and then our let go zone. And when you put things that were in the essential zone into the let go zone, then you can delegate, or you can delete, or you can delay, or you can do whatever you want with them, but they are not all shoved into that core zone, taking up so much time.
Right.
They shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So then, yeah.
I was going to say, one of the things that I like, I try to think about, I don't always, but that I do try to consider in terms of like what's really critical, and also what can I only do that I can't delegate, right? The things that just aren't going to get done business wise, house wise, whatever, if I don't do them, that are also that important to me. I like to ask, is this going to matter in 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months, or 5 years? And if the overarching result is no, then I've really had to work to be like, let it go. Like,
absolutely.
And sometimes it's really hard to do that.
Oh, so hard. It's so hard. And it's so interesting because there are lots of things that we think only we can do. I mean, as an entrepreneur, when it's in your business and, you know, you've got to do these things, but part of the conditional identities or false identities is this thing that only I can do this, or only I should do this. The should, when you find yourself hearing yourself saying should, whoo, those are false identities rolling in and giving you all sorts of rules that you're following.
Absolutely.
So again, it's noticing, am I shoulding here?
Stop shoulding on yourself.
Absolutely. Get rid of them. And if it's an I can versus I should, then can someone else as well?
Sure.
And, you know, when we struggle to delegate because we don't trust ourselves and we don't trust others. And when we do, such a relief.
Such a relief. Yeah. All right. So then where does the E take us, Charlotte?
So the E takes us into embedding ease. Now, this is the thing that brings that relief. And I feel that most people think that ease is like a luxury. You know, I'm just going to sit back with ease, and it's something that I can't have myself. But I see ease as the new executive edge, because I think that when you can approach life with ease, then you have so much more space. My acronym for ease, which I've got, I'm a qualified heart math coach, and heart math uses this acronym, is effective at sustaining energy. So when you are running around, pushing, striving, doing it all, you don't have any energy. You don't have the capacity to give to the things that matter. So if you can become effective at sustaining energy, putting your attention on the things that matter without being pushed into that stress response of your false identities, ease is what is going to make everything so much easier, so much more focused,
it's part of the word.
Indeed. And when you've got it, you suddenly say, wow, you know, you can measure it in how much you got done. You can measure it in how deep your relationships are. You can measure it in how successful you're being. And it's such a relief. It's joy.
I love it. Man, we could talk about this for a long time, but I know we have another conversation to go have. So I do want to wrap this one up. So Charlotte, you said press pause, ask, unhook from the identity. Oh crap, what was the S? I've forgotten it.
Simplify. You've done very well so far.
Simplify. Thank you. Simplify. And then that brings us to ease. So
Indeed.
awesome. All right. So now I have a question for you. And this is a spur of the moment question. So thank you for letting me lob it your way. Everything that we do at Parent Tween Connection is founded on what I call the foundations of connection, where the word connection, each letter starts a phrase or a concept about how to have more effective connections, whether it's with yourself, your partner, your kids, your colleagues. So I'm going to go through them pretty quickly. And I'm going to ask you to just share which one kind of like hits you in the head tonight or this morning. All right. So create a safe place, observe, non-judgment, nod and smile, as in zip it, explore, challenge your truths, take your time, innovate, own your own story, and nurture. Did anyone like grab you?
Oh my gosh. I think every single one of them. I was like, how do I choose? I think the one about challenging, remind me of the challenging.
Challenge your truths.
Yes, that is the core, because when that's exactly what we're talking about here is we believe that everything that we believe is real, and it is our reality. But when you challenge things like, when you challenge the beliefs that you have that you think are the truth about who you are or about the world or about who your partner is, then you can create a safe space. Then you can do all the other things. Then you can nurture. Then you can own your story. But when you are just living the truths that are not the truth, that are the survival strategies that you've created, or the perspectives that you have created in response to the experiences that you've had. And I'm not saying that they're not really valuable and true to you, but when you can challenge those, when you can challenge your own perspective on things, then the world opens up.
Awesome. I love it. All right, Charlotte, if people want to learn more about the coaching that you offer, where can they find you?
You can find me at my website is charlottehaggie.com, or I am on Instagram at Charlotte Coaches, LinkedIn at Charlotte Coaches, and also on Facebook. I think it's charlotte.haggie, but look up Charlotte Haggie on Facebook and you find me.
Awesome. All right. So if you are tuning in for the first time, or maybe the second or third, but you haven't subscribed to our channel yet or followed us on Facebook or LinkedIn, wherever you're seeing us, please do make sure to do that so that you get notified next time we have an awesome professional joining us for some insight. And Charlotte and I are actually going to head over to Parent Tween Village right now. If you don't know about Parent Tween Village, it's our community that is designed expressly for parents, primarily with kids between the ages of 10 and 20, where we have more conversations with experts like Charlotte. And we have community, and we're here to help you navigate life with teens and tweens more effectively. So we are going to go ahead and sign out here. And if you're in Parent Tween Village, we'll be live there shortly. And we are talking about one simple tool to help you focus. And I am probably looking forward to that even more than the one about productivity. So Charlotte, thank you so much. And we will see everybody else the next time we have an awesome guest with us.